You are watching the show that puts Mid-Michigan news in focus. This is Focal Point. Customers camped out overnight for a chicken sandwich. We'll tell you where, up next on Focal Point News.
Up next on Focal Point, how Michigan State College Republicans are involved in Vice Presidential candidate Mike Pence's visit to Metro Detroit.
Our job is to bring people together, not to allow Trump to divide us up.
Bernie Sanders makes another stop at Michigan State University, this time supporting Hillary Clinton.
Thank you.
Well, that's because he'd rather have a puppet as president of the United States.
No puppet.
And
The presidential candidates battle it out one last time with 2.5 weeks to go. Focal Point starts now.
Good evening, I'm Macy Krupasevich.
And I'm Whitney Burney. Welcome to Focal Point. Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton went head-to-head for the last time before Election Day at the third presidential debate in Las Vegas. Focal Point's Matt Micah has the highlights.
Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump going head-to-head for the final time.
Everything I see has no respect for this person.
well, that's because he'd rather have a puppet as president of the United States.
No puppet.
And it's pretty clear.
You're the puppet.
Hosted by UNLV, the debate was moderated by Fox News anchor and political commentator Chris Wallace. Wallace asked the candidates about future plans for Supreme Court nominations, immigration, Second Amendment rights, and abortion.
Based on what she's saying and based on where she's going and where she's been, you can take the baby and rip the baby out of the womb in the 9th month on the final day. And that's not acceptable.
Well, that is not what happens in these cases. And using that kind of scare rhetoric is just terribly unfortunate.
With each candidate looking to pitch their platform for president, Trump tried to minimize the recent damage done to his campaign by the leaked audio tape from Access Hollywood and allegations of sexual assault.
Those stories are all totally false. I have to say that. I think they want either fame or her campaign did it. And I think it's her campaign.
But his continuous accusations have left Hillary questioning Trump's fitness to be president.
You know, every time Donald thinks things are not going in his direction, he claims whatever it is rigged against him.
And when asked if he would respect the results of the election, Mr. Trump would not make any promises.
Are you saying you're not prepared now to commit to that principle?
What I'm saying is that I will tell you at the time. I'll keep you in suspense.
Suspense that will last 2.5 weeks until America gets to decide.
Down the street, known as Trump.
Made with Chinese steel.
For Focal Point News, I'm Matt Micah.
A recent poll by the New York Times has Secretary Clinton up 45.8% nationally over Donald Trump at 39.5%. And while many watched the debate on TV, some local residents had a taste of the presidential campaign action right here in Michigan.
Indiana Governor and Republican Vice Presidential candidate Mike Pence made a stop in Southeast Michigan. Focal Point's Julie Dunmeyer joins us now to tell us how she spent the evening with him and other Republicans from across the state.
Thanks, Macy. Whitney. An hour there and back, $60 a plate, and in the midst of midterms. All things that didn't stop the Michigan Federation of College Republicans from attending a visit by Mike Pence to Macomb County in Metro Detroit.
Any further ado, the next Vice President of the United States, Mike Pence.
When you come to stuff like this, you feel the excitement. There's electricity in the air.
The type of electricity only a presidential campaign can bring. And Republican vice presidential candidate Mike Pence brought just that to this year's Lincoln Day dinner.
Karen and I are delighted to be with you. We feel so at home in Macomb.
In my card, you got
Charlie Colleen, chairman of the Michigan Federation of College Republicans, says while Donald Trump has the business skills, Pence provides the background in politics.
To that, my fellow Republicans, let's be sure to roll our sleeves up and be involved.
I think people know when they elect him what they can expect, and that's the anchor to the ticket.
On top of bringing experience, Charlie says Pence does one more thing, unites a once feared divided Republican Party.
Let me make you a promise.
With Donald Trump choosing him as his running mate, that solidified his views are conservative.
And Pence says he and Trump's plan is good for Michigan business owners.
We're going to lower business taxes
so companies in Michigan can compete and keep jobs right here in Michigan.
He says they're going to do that by doing what worked in the past.
We're going to do what worked in the 1980s. We're going to cut taxes across the board for working families.
Charlie says these conservative values are part of a common misconception about his generation.
It's often you're just told like young people are not attracted to conservative values or the Republican Party in general, which isn't true.
Charlie's organization had 4 tables full of conservative millennials.
People are giving like very valuable time up to come to this. And
Charlie says that laying off the books to hit the real world lessons shows what matters to students like him.
Thank you very much.
In Macomb County, Julie Dunmeyer, Focal Point News.
The Michigan Federation of College Republicans brought more than 30 students coming from universities all over the state. In Whitney, 6 of those students were from right here at MSU.
Senator Bernie Sanders visited Michigan State once again this election season, but this time on board the Clinton campaign, encouraging his millennial supporters to vote for Hillary. Focal Point's Michaela Colonna has that story.
It's important that we work hard to get the candidate who is backed by somebody that we all so strongly believed in elected.
Megan Keneally backed Bernie Sanders in the primary, but like the senator, she has now shifted her support to Hillary Clinton.
If Bernie is somebody who is big enough to have run a whole campaign based on his own beliefs and had those, just had it not work out, and he can stand behind her in order for the greater good, I think we all should be able to too.
Thank you all for coming out.
Bernie highlighted policy similarities between the secretary and himself on education, job creation, and wages.
And that is why she believes and I believe that we've got to raise the minimum wage in this country from a 7.25 federal minimum wage to a living wage.
And he expressed his concerns of a Trump presidency.
We have a candidate for president who is running for president on a policy of bigotry.
But not all of his supporters are Hillary fans. Many understand the hesitancy of voting for the former Secretary of State.
It's difficult to immediately switch and then say, I'm against establishment politics, and then you have to choose between a Democrat establishment or someone who is very far off base from what the Democratic Party says.
Although his name is no longer on the ballot, his visit to Michigan State has left students confident in the senator's decision.
The fact that he is backing Hillary in such an important election is something that says a lot about his character rather than just like his desire for power.
And hopeful for November. For Focal Point News,
let us elect Hillary Clinton. Let's transform America. Thank you very much.
I'm Michaela Colonna.
Currently, 46% of the U.S. Senate has endorsed Hillary Clinton for president.
With just under 2.5 weeks to go until Election Day, the candidates and their surrogates are campaigning across the country, but many still don't really know how much about their running mates. Does it make that much of a difference? We spoke to students and experts to find out.
On social media or watch TV, they're all over.
It's pretty important for people to know who's running and who their vice president candidates are for this year. It's pretty important. It's all around campus.
With the election less than a month away and media coverage at an all-time high, it may come as a surprise that a lot of students in East Lansing still don't seem to know some of the candidates' names.
We spoke with students here on MSU's campus to find out their involvement in the upcoming election, as well as do they know who Mike Pence and Tim Kaine are.
I swear I didn't even know. I'm sorry, I didn't know.
No, I don't have any clue.
They're the vice president candidates this year, right? I'm pretty sure.
MSU political science professor Corwin Schmidt says it makes sense that people don't know who the vice presidential candidates are.
Well, it's pretty common. It's not really in people's interest to know much because rarely does your vote matter that much. So, and vice presidents are probably the least consequential office out there. So it really doesn't, there's no real purpose to knowing the vice president.
Although Schmidt says it may not seem important to know, he says other factors contribute to why some people aren't knowledgeable about the vice presidential candidates and issues about the election.
Favorability is pretty low with both of them. They're pretty low on trustworthiness. There's not much new in terms of policy being proposed. I don't think you can name one key policy statement of either candidate of what they're going to change.
Students are still being encouraged by both candidates to get out and vote this election season.
Election day is November 8th, but many nationwide have already voted with absentee ballots and early state voting. And meanwhile, a Leslie High School teacher is facing criminal charges after reports surfaced alleging he had sex with a student. David Hovarder was charged with 4 counts of criminal sexual conduct. A complaint was filed with the Ingham County Sheriff's Department in July of 2016. If convicted, Hovarder faces up to life in prison, and he is the second Leslie teacher to be charged just this year. Ingham County prosecutor Gretchen Whitmer is urging other potential victims to come forward, saying it's important people take this type of incident seriously.
Yes, you know, the sad state of affairs is that in a lot of these cases where there is criminal sexual conduct, it's often a person who's got an authority position that is abusing it and taking advantage of someone who's not an adult.
Costumes, cobwebs, clowns, and crime. Halloween is just around the corner, and the MSU Police Department wants you to be safe. With all the recent clown craziness and over 50 crimes committed just last weekend on campus, MSU police are preparing for Halloween. They advise you to use caution no matter what you choose to do that night. Campus police say to stay alert, have your phone fully charged, travel in groups, and if you see something, say something. If you feel uncomfortable at any time, call MSU Police to report an incident at 517-355-2221. In case of an emergency, call 911.
October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, which means it's time for the 3rd annual Pink Dessert Wars featuring cupcakes, cookies, and cakes. Hundreds of people converged on the Radisson Hotel in downtown Lansing for the event to raise money for breast cancer research. 10 local bakeries, restaurants, and caterers showed off their tastiest pink treats in the hopes of winning some awards. Along with the desserts was a silent auction, live music, and a photo booth, and some bakeries have been in the competition since it began in 2014.
We had one of our owners actually passed from cancer a few years ago, so this is something we like to support, and this is something that, you know, it touches home with most of us.
The event raised almost $500 for the Susan G. Komen Foundation's Mid-Michigan chapter.
Up next, the grand opening of Michigan's first Chick Fil-A. What some fans were willing to do to receive a year of free chicken.
Plus, on campus, the Black Lives Matter movement gets active during homecoming week.
Ever wonder where courage comes from? Where one finds the strength to believe in solutions that seem impossible? It takes a Spartan's will to understand that by working together we can solve the world's biggest problems, from renewable energy to fighting malaria. After all, if we don't do it, who will? Spartans will.
The long-awaited opening of the first standalone Chick Fil-A in Michigan drew quite a few fans, and the long lines haven't stopped since the day before they opened a week ago. Some waited in line all night long just to be the first ones in.
There's just a lot of excitement for the new Chick Fil-A store opening.
Matt Adair couldn't wait for Lansing's first Chick Fil-A to open.
A little over 24 hours, so I got here 5:45 yesterday.
He and around 100 others camped out here for 24 hours to get a year's worth of free meals.
We barely made it. They just came outside and said we have 5 slots left.
You can see the first few hundred customers pulling into the drive-thru here behind me. Managers tell me that the traffic has not slowed down since 6 a.m.
Good morning. Welcome to Chick Fil-A. Good morning. Glad you're here.
The grand opening marks Michigan's first standalone Chick Fil-A. Store owner Kate McNerney says the anticipation has been building.
The customers are really happy to be here. The raving fans are all arriving. Our team members are in the back. They've been preparing for 2 weeks now.
Lots of people just waiting to try for the first time or taste the famous chicken again.
One of our PR team had somebody say, I've been praying for Chick-fil-A to come to Michigan for 40 years. Like, wow, it's amazing wherever he had had it then.
And I hadn't had Chick-fil-A in so long. Their taste is so unique that you can't find it anywhere else.
And the frenzy shows no signs of slowing down anytime soon. The restaurant is located on Saginaw Street across from the Lansing Mall. Another Chick-fil-A opened in Troy at the Somerset Mall a few hours after the Lansing opening. Plans are already in the works for several more Michigan stores to open in the next year. Black Lives Matter protests rippled across campus.
And MSU alumni returned for homecoming. Focal Point's Michaela Colonna joins us now with these stories and more in our campus report. Michaela?
Thanks, Macy. Those involved in the local Black Lives Matter campaign have been very active in the last couple of weeks. The movement speaks out against police brutality to the African American community. Focal Point's Julie Dunmire takes us to one peaceful vigil in East Lansing.
A chorus of car horns, but voices even louder.
We came together to speak out against the police violence against Black and brown people in this community.
But what makes this Black Lives Matter vigil a little different?
All the organizers were white.
Organizer Kendra Pyle-Kanaboshi says it's important for voices of all color to speak up.
And start speaking out against racial injustice in this country.
The message that they're trying to spread is that white silence is violence.
The thing is, by not speaking out, you're basically supporting the status quo.
A status quo that involves a conversation difficult for many to have, says MSU professor and event organizer Donna Kauplowitz.
Race is one of those conversations that people are really still very uncomfortable having, and we need spaces where we can engage in these conversations.
This affects all of us.
Aaliyah Buell is an active member of East Lansing High School's Black Student Union, and she says,
a lot of people think that it just affects African Americans and Black people, but like I said in my poem, oppression anywhere is oppression everywhere.
To those who say all lives matter, Aaliyah says,
I feel like the All Lives Matter movement was created just to battle Black Lives Matter and to silence us.
Black Lives Matter does not mean only Black Lives Matter, it means Black Lives Matter too.
We shall live in. And with the words, "We shall overcome," ringing down Grand River, this event ended with one last message. Black Lives Matter! In East Lansing, Julie Dunmire, Focal Point News.
Students hit campus with a similar protest last week, demanding that the university retract the invitation for Donald Trump's campaign and that university administrators take a side. Focal Point's Whitney Burney takes us there.
Neutral is the line.
We demand you take a side.
Luana K. Simon, Michigan State University Administration. You have chosen to remain silent on the countless murders and crimes committed by the police. For as long as you remain silent, you too are murderers and criminals. It is clear you have chosen the side of anti-blackness.
Tomorrow there is a meeting, ASMSU meeting, to discuss the retraction of inviting all presidential candidates, specifically Donald Trump.
The issue arose from when there was a silencing of students on ASMSU's Facebook page who voiced their concerns.
Quite frankly, it's so discouraging to be a student of this institution and see ourselves presented as less than worthy of a voice.
Because you have students of color and because you have Black students who we've seen dehumanized and murdered explicitly and violated in various ways, it's imperative that we take a stance and say, do we matter to you or do we not? If the bare minimum that can be given to us is our humanity, we will demand it and we will receive it.
As we all know, for people of color, for any marginalized communities, his anti-Black racist ideologies, anti-Muslim, anti-Latinx, xenophobia is prolific.
We demand to know, which side are you on?
University administration declined to comment. Jason Porter, ASMSU's Vice President of Internal Administration, resigned from his position this week. He released his resignation letter on Tuesday, saying his personal views as a student and those of ASMSU were not the same, personally apologizing to marginalized groups on campus. Michigan State was honored by the U.S. Department of Agriculture for the response to the Flint water crisis. MSU facilitated donations to the Food Bank of Eastern Michigan, created fact sheets and nutrition guidebooks, and helped fund and distribute water filters and soil tests. The Abraham Lincoln Honor Award for External Partnerships is given to groups who make notable contributions that support the mission and goals of the USDA. MSU students with families now have a new place to live on campus. Located behind University Village on Harrison Road, 1855 Place consists of about 190 units available for rent. Student families can choose from 1 or 2 bedroom apartments at $800 or $925 a month. The rent includes a full kitchen, living room, bathroom, and a washer and a dryer, as well as all utilities. The complex also has an outdoor playground and a kid-friendly lounge. MSU officials say the new complex brings a sense of community to students with young children.
Everyone who lives in those apartments are all going through the same experience, and so that shared experience of being a student and having a family and understanding all the demands on your family is a great thing too.
The complex will be opening more units for all students in the fall of 2017. These will include single student and studio apartments, townhouses, and 2- and 4-bedroom units. MSU celebrated homecoming with many events across campus. Alumni, tailgaters, and students had the rare opportunity to tour one of Michigan State's iconic buildings. Built in 1928, Beaumont Tower stands 104 feet tall on the northern part of MSU's campus. Guests climbed the stairs to the top of the tower where they could tour its meeting rooms and watch the Carillonneur perform. The carillon consists of 49 bells, with the largest bell weighing 2.5 tons. Beaumont Tower has also been home to the MSU Tower Guard since 1934 and is open for tours on MSU homecoming each year. And legend has it that a Spartan will marry his or her sweetheart if they kiss under Beaumont Tower. And another homecoming tradition, as students and alumni enjoyed the warm October weather with some free ice cream. MSU Dairy Store handed out the frozen treat at the Rock the day before the homecoming football game. Even some honorary Spartans were on hand to enjoy the annual event. The University Activities Board uses events like these during homecoming week to promote other organizations while giving students something fun and free to do.
I think people like it. I mean, who doesn't love free ice cream, especially Dairy Store ice cream and free buttons?
Free ice cream at the Rock is just one of many events put on by UAB during homecoming week. The traditional homecoming event included free t-shirts, frisbees, and of course an appearance from Sparty. The homecoming parade followed later that evening. Country music artists Dan and Shay will be making an extra stop on their Obsessed tour in East Lansing. ASMSU, the University Activities Board, and the Residence Halls Association are bringing the duo to Michigan State for a concert at the MSU Auditorium. Opening acts include Walker Hayes and Season 4 winner of The Voice, Danielle Bradbury. Tickets go on sale for students on Monday, October 24th for $10, and for the general public on Friday, October 28th for $25. The show is on December 8th at 8 p.m. Some students at MSU are learning what it takes to make it to the Broadway stage. Under the Imagine program, MSU theater students are teaming up with selected middle and high school students, as well as professional Broadway actors for the production of Temple, the musical. The show tells the story of Temple Grandin, an inventor, best-selling author, and professor who faces the challenges of living with autism. The production includes an intense 3-week rehearsal process and 3 performances. The actors are hoping that the show teaches their audience about the struggles of autism.
I'm hoping they will get a sense of reality or truth that makes them feel more compassionate or have more understanding of this thing that nobody talks about, really.
You can see Temple in the Passant Theater at the Wharton Center tonight and tomorrow, October 22nd at 7:30 p.m. There will also be a sensory performance tomorrow afternoon at 2 p.m. Tickets are $15. And that's what's happening on campus. I'm Michaela Colonna.
Thanks, Michaela. Coming up next, the Spartan football team continues to struggle for the 4th consecutive week, but the women's volleyball team is inching closer to a spot in the top 10 national rankings.
And the men's and women's basketball teams kick off their season in style. That's what's up next in sports.
Ever wonder where courage comes from? Where one finds the strength to believe in solutions that seem impossible? It takes a Spartan's will to understand that by working together we can solve the world's biggest problems, from renewable energy to fighting malaria. After all, if we don't do it, who will? Spartans will.
Welcome back to Focal Point. I'm Matt Micah with this week's sports. Let's go around the horn with MSU Athletics and kick things off with football. Homecoming weekend in East Lansing and Michigan State desperately needing a win to snap a 3-game losing streak. Senior captain Riley Bullock back in action for the Spartans as MSU hosted Northwestern. MSU strikes first as new man under center Brian Lewerke finds Josiah Price for a 15-yard connection, and the scoring was only getting started. Northwestern rattled off 26 unanswered, including this safety. Joe Gaziano levels Lewerke for the 2 points, got to keep the head on a swivel, but MSU kept on fighting, down 33-17. Tyler O'Connor comes in and starts slinging it. Beautiful play action, finds out with R.J. Shelton, beautiful hookup, ridiculous catch. The two hooked up one more time for 86 yards, and the Spartans pull within 2. Shelton, he came to play, 7 receptions, 190 yards, and the 2 TDs. The senior really stepping up, but every time MSU inched back Northwestern, they responded. Justin Jackson extends the lead 47-31 with his 26-yard burst. Game has to be over, right? But how about O'Connor? He came off the bench and he slinged it. Unbelievable performance. He finds Donnie Corley to pull within 10 right here, but that was not enough. MSU has now lost 4 in a row. This program was in the college playoff last year. Head coach Mark D'Antonio on the quick fall from the top.
The bar has been set very high here, rightfully so. There's only one way to go. The climb up is very, very difficult. That ride down, it's tough to take sometimes. Okay, so we need to deal with it and get on with it.
The Spartans will head to College Park tomorrow to square off with the Maryland Terrapins. Kickoff is scheduled for 7:30 on the Big Ten Network. Captain Riley Bullock compared this year's struggles to 2012 as the Spartans continue to fight on for eligibility.
In 2012, when we were faced with kind of a similar situation that we're in now, so we try to tell the younger guys that, we got to win. Now's the time to win.
8 months after Middle Tennessee State knocked out the Spartans in the first round of the NCAA tournament, the Breslin Center doors reopen for Michigan State Madness. Students, alumni, and fans rushed inside to meet, take pictures with, and grab a signature or two from their favorite Spartans. With a new look roster, every MSU fan has high expectations.
Ashes out of U of D, sees the floor great, great ball handler, all around a great player. Miles Bridges, he can get up, good dunker, very explosive. Final Four bound, Michigan State, don't count him out.
Bridges is extremely athletic and he's great dunker, he's got great vertical. Cassius sees the floor well. And Nick Ward's got a big role this year with Costello leaving.
And despite the youth, fans have no doubt the Hall of Fame coach will be able to notch another trip to the Final Four.
I think it's going to start out a little slow, but I think Tom will get them together. They'll play awesome, and at the end they're going to be right there going for it again.
I think there's a new energy in the air with a lot of really good players and an awesome coach. It's got to be a great season.
We're going to try to do what we do at Michigan State. We're going to try to hang another banner on that side. We still got some work to make this the greatest place in America. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of the night.
Women's hoops is back as well. This year, Michigan State will be out Ariel Powers, who was the 5th overall pick in the 2016 WNBA draft. The Spartans are led by senior Tori Jankowska, who is 3rd in the MSU career record book with 198 three-point field goals. The senior will be relied upon, as head coach Susie Merchant explained at Media Day.
I think Tori is as tough as anybody in the league, and I say that not only from a skill set standpoint, but I think she's one of the toughest players I've ever coached neck up. I mean, she's extremely driven, she's competitive, she's relentless in her approach to be the best she can be.
Men's hoops hosted their media day yesterday, and all eyes are on the freshmen. Despite the loss of Denzel Valentine, Bryn Forbes, and Matt Costello, Tom Izzo is looking forward to the challenge of coaching a younger team.
Something different. A little change. I mean, I'm going to enjoy having a little pressure on me to try to bring along some young guys. I think that's going to be a positive thing, not a negative thing.
However, bad news for MSU basketball. Gavin Schilling will be out due to a right knee injury. The senior forward will be undergoing surgery this upcoming week. The status of a possible return will be more clear after the surgery. And make room for another award for the Hall of Famer. Tom Izzo will receive this year's Dean Smith Award. The U.S. Basketball Writers Association selected Izzo and will present the honor at an MSU home game to be announced at a later date. Izzo is the 2nd person to receive the award since it was established last year. Former Georgetown coach John Thompson was the first recipient. And by the way, Izzo Campout is tonight at Munn Field. Should be a good time. The MSU hockey team is back on the ice and the puck has been dropped. MSU held its annual green and white scrimmage last week at Munn Ice Arena. Green topped white 5-2, but check out Mason Appleton from the point, the sniper shot. Watch out for number 27, only a sophomore. Later, Green is able to push the puck coast to coast. Beautiful touch pass from JT Stangline to Dylan Pavlak for the goal. Stangline, Pavlak, and Sam Saliba led the effort for the Green team as the trio combined for 9 total points. Now, MSU dropped the first 2 regular season games to Lake Superior State, but will host their home opener tonight against Denver. The Big Ten Conference is arguably the best conference in the country when it comes to women's volleyball. 8 programs are in the top 25, including Michigan State. Michigan State hosted number 3 Minnesota last Saturday night, and it was a good one. MSU battled back from an opening set loss to take a 5-set victory over the Golden Gophers. Alyssa Garvelink was a beast all night. She had a career best 18 kills, added a season high 10 blocks, finishing just 1 shy of her career best of 11. It was her first career double-double as well. The gauntlet of the Big Ten Conference has helped MSU in tight matches, as Maggie Midget explained after the game.
I think it takes us back to Nebraska. That was a tough loss for us, and to lose in 5, that really taught us to push through in this game. And beating a number 3 team in the nation, that's really going to help us see that we can do a lot of things this coming season.
The MSU men's soccer team squared off with Yale at D. Martin Stadium earlier this week. The Spartans took the lead early on as midfielder Andrew Herr was able to find the back of the net. Later on, Ken Krolicki scored, icing the victory for the green and white. And while the tournament approaches, MSU is treating every match with the same mentality: win or go home.
You just got to keep the momentum going. Win or go home is basically, this time of year. It's always normally a basketball reference, but it's the same thing with soccer. This time of year, postseason, win or go home.
Senior Day will be this Saturday as MSU will host Northwestern for their last home game of the season. And how about America's pastime? Fall baseball has been wrapped up as the annual Green and White Series concluded the fall season. Game 2 Friday afternoon, White with the 1-0 advantage, but Green showcased a pitching clinic. Mike Muckma and Keegan Barr shoved for Team Green, shutting out Team White 2-0 to even up the series. Winner take all Game 3, the White team cruised to an 11-2 victory, and finally, we are deeply saddened to announce that Detroit Free Press sports columnist Drew Sharp died this morning. Sharp followed the Spartans for many years. Our condolences go out to his family and friends. Sharp was 56.
I mean, that's really unfortunate. Something so sudden like that can happen.
Yeah, and 56, that's really young. Just shows you can't take anything for granted.
I saw him yesterday at Basketball Media Day as well.
I mean, that's just crazy. Yeah. Well, finally tonight, the new Sparty statue was unveiled last week in the Campus Student Union.
And for the beloved mascot, it was like looking into a mirror. The wait is finally over as the statue was showcased for the first time during homecoming week. Students, media, and alumni all wanted to get a glimpse at the new Sparty,
while members of the university as well as the team project took pictures with the welcoming mascot. Sculptor Allison Brown credited the hardworking nature of MSU while creating the magic in the new Sparty.
That's our show for tonight.
We now leave you with the sounds of homecoming and MSU's a cappella group, Arcapella. Good night. So cold out here in your